Well, hello there. So in this video, we're going to do a practice problem from an AP exam from about 10 years ago that deals with factor markets. And so this is kind of a good example of what you might be asked to do if you were to sit for the College Board exams. So it says the John Lamb Company, right, the John Deere, but you don't get permissions, profit maximizing firm producing widgets is in a perfectly competitive widget market. So that tells us that the product that they're making is in a perfectly competitive product market. Assume they employ a fixed number of employees and rent a machine for a variable number of hours from a perfectly competitive market. And that also tells us, right, that the factor market's perfectly competitive. It says using correctly labeled side-by-side graphs of the factor market for machines and the John Lamb Company show the following: the rental price labeled PR and the quantity labeled QL. So we're going to do a market and then the firm. And again, remember, we're doing factor markets, right? So this is not the product markets. This is the factor markets. And so, this is QL. I don't know why they said QL. That's weird. But at any rate, we've got kind of QL. Probably should be like QM, right? Well, maybe they didn't want L because market, right? So this is going to be our market and our firm. And you can see here I'm using R because that indicates that it's the rental rate. Now, we're going to have a downward sloping demand and an upward sloping supply. And in that market, it says equilibrium rental price is PR, so P sub R, and the rental quantity is QL, is what actually that. So maybe we'll just say here QK as quantity of capital. That'll make me feel a little bit better than using L there. Oh, I know, it's L for Lamb. Duh, that's what it's for. So that's what the firm's quantity is. And so this, if you remember, the rental rate, right, the price of the machines is the marginal factor cost. That's what we call this because it's the additional cost of employing an additional unit of the inputs. And then, you've got the marginal revenue product, which is the firm's demand curve. And so we can kind of say that that's the firm's supply curve, the supply of machines to the firm. And this is the firm's demand for the machines. It's that downward sloping. And we know that they hire up to the point where MFC equals MRP. So we've got Q sub L, quantity that the Lamb Company employs. Then it says B, assume the popularity of widgets declines, decreasing the demand for widgets. What will happen to each of the following? Okay. So then it says B1, marginal product curve for machine hours. So now this one's really tricky. They're throwing you a curveball here. But think about it this: the marginal product of the machines, right? The demand for the widgets that the machines change, that changes. But does the productivity of the machine itself change? That's what marginal product curve is, right? It's how many units can the machine make. Well, no, the number of units that the machine makes doesn't change just because the demand for the product changed. So we would say no change. And it doesn't ask us for an explanation here, but if it did, you could just say, well, the productivity of the machine didn't change, right? How many units it can make. B2, marginal revenue product for machine hours explained. Now, if you remember, marginal revenue product is the marginal product, which is how many units the machine can make, times the price. And that's what MRP is. It's the additional value of those marginal product units. Well, the marginal product units didn't change. But what happened to the price? Well, it did change, right? We actually can see here the demand for widgets changes, so we would anticipate the price changes. So we would say that if the demand for widgets decreased, we can therefore say the price of widgets decreased. Therefore, right, so we're kind of linking together statements here. It's a logic chain. Therefore, the MRP for widget machines, which is what these are, right, decreases. And that's pretty acceptable to say that because your grader will know that you're talking about, well, the MRP of the widget machines is dependent on the price of the widgets. And that should be sufficient there. Okay, part C. John Lamb, and it doesn't actually tell us to graph it on here, so that's kind of nice. We don't have to play around with this thing. If we did, right, we would actually see this demand curve go in and this demand curve go in and this marginal factor cost curve go down, and it would be very messy. We looked at that in the lecture video, but you don't have to do it here. John Lamb is employing the cost minimizing combination of inputs. Great. So we know just from that sentence, if you remember, we know that the marginal product over the rental rate has to be equal to the marginal product over the wage. Like we know that that's true if they're employing the cost minimizing combination of inputs. It says the marginal product of labor is 28 widgets per worker hour and the wage is 14. So actually this is fairly straightforward. 28 over 14. And then it says the marginal product of widgets is 60. What's the hourly rental price? Well, 60. And so we're looking for that value. And so that's 2. Let me move this paper up a little bit. So that's 2. So 60 over something is equal to 2. So therefore, we know the rental rate is 30. Done. Hopefully that is as easy as it is for you on the AP test. See you next time.